Oh, evening, yeah. Wrong. Welcome to live number 186, Wednesday evening in this heat. This bloody, it's warm. Oh, yeah. Quick press of a button, stop something else happening. So, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Please make sure you can get in and have a seat. Let me just, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to put this over here. Just getting myself ready, so to speak. But make sure you have something, a small libation with you this evening, just so that this heat is extraordinary today. I mean, what's it, 30 odd degrees today? I did get in the car earlier and it said 30 degrees, but the car had been sat in the sunshine. So, not quite sure. Welcome to everyone, and we'll get into the parish notes in a moment. But I have, I've had a telling off from Sister Mary, just between you and I, and we'll do it before everyone gets into their pews. In fact, let's start with the parish notes. Next Sunday is the next live. 22nd of June. 22nd of June. We are almost into the summer equinox. Who would have thought that those many weeks of a dark winter ago? So the next live is Sunday, 22nd of June. We are thinking about doing lots of things in the background, which will become evident over the next 2 months or so. Looks like I'm having to take the new Mrs. Allen away on holiday at some point in August. So the main decision is whether to start everything that I want to do before August or after August. But this heat is extraordinary for a balmy summer's day, and that's balmy with an L, not an R. Yeah, wrong. Welcome to everybody that's in the body of the Kirk. I'm going to read that in a second. But Terry Wuckfit, evening all, evening Terry. Terry was first in the pews, so be gentle. He doesn't like being roughhoused, does young Terry. Les Griffiths, evening, Terry. I'm looking forward to a good show tonight. Oh, you smooth talking divil, Les. Stuart says, evening, Rev. Evening, all. Evening, Stuart. Terry Wuckford, it should be. Yes, I'm sure the Rev will have some interesting info to disseminate. Oh, yes, I certainly do. Where'd this cough come from? It's only appeared tonight. Have the hibiscus. Thank you, Stuart, for the Jaeger bombs. Everything is fine, and in me tea, but I do have some sparkling water because it's a mite warm this evening. If you hear like a slight whirring, it's because I've had to put a desk fan on because it's a bit warm. So I am trying to just remain cool under pressure once the adrenaline kicks in, because that does make you feel a lot warmer. So welcome Les, welcome Stuart, welcome Terry. And Terry also says, I wonder if a certain recently released political prisoner will show his face. Oh, if Alex Bellefield's watching, evening, yeah, wrong. You're more than welcome to come on this live, Alex. Absolutely. And here's an offer for you. If you would like to be interviewed on any YouTube channel, because I know you've got the big announcement after your 2-week ban by YouTube, but if you want to come on this channel, you're more than welcome. You know me, Alex. We work together long enough. And you use a lot of my catchphrases, you thieving bastard. So, yes, I think that political prisoner might show his head. There's a joke in there somewhere. Apparently, he'll be making some sort of grand announcement on his YouTube channel on Saturday when his current ban expires. Well, there won't be live shows because he can't do those. Can't be books because he can't do those. I understand. Well, we'll talk about it in just a little while. So, yes, this 2-week ban, he's got to be very careful because he's had 2 strikes against his channel. Another strike, it's gone. Finished. As in Foxtrot Oscar. I'm not quite sure what the big announcement's going to be, but I am going to talk about his release from prison. Because, well, you know me. I am a proper cynical old tart. And I know the way of the media. I think that there was a rabbit away, and I'm going to tell you what. And how, in just a little while. Neil Cunningham, evening. Neil, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Evening all. Rev, how did the interview with Jeremy Vine go? Going to tell you about that in just a second in the parish notes once I finish the comments. Terry's very keen. Maybe I should dye my hair ginger and start a channel gobshiting and criticising people in power. Easy money. He's not making any money. He's been defunded by YouTube. He's not going to make any money. The reason why he wants his YouTube channel to go forward is because there's plenty of subs there and that will get notifications if he does anything, and that's why he needs the YouTube channel. But I'm afraid if you start libeling people and organisations under the license agreement, you're either going to go back to prison or you're going to lose your YouTube channel. Not a great chess player, from what I can gather. Police Scotland would be bashing my back doors down every day. Ooh, matron. I might enjoy it after the first few times. Apparently, it gets addictive, according to Farmer Harmer Starmer. You might need some marching powder, Terry, especially if you're going on a trip on a train. Hang on a second. Oh, blimey. All of a sudden, all these comments have come into the comments, so to speak. Hang on, it's Cuban Pete in the sin bin. What's he said now? Let's have a look. YouTube Studio has a control to rectify. Doesn't, Terry. We've tried that, and it doesn't. If only we could, because I want to kind of, not to give Jeremy's Booker a plug, but if I do that, you can't actually see it the right way round, because look at that. It's all the wrong way round. How can that happen? So I was just talking to Lord Wookfit, and he was saying, hang on, what did Neil Cunningham say? I just want to get everything in, all my ducks in a row. Right, that's BBC Scotland. Police Scotland. Andy Turner, I see John Reid from Nightcrawler passed away at 61. I know, great song. It's gone off the top of my head now, but he was kind of more 90s than 70s and 80s. Hang on, who's offering beer? Thank you, Andy. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Tom Harney says, evening all. As a wrong philosopher once said, I came, I saw, I ate the Battenberg. Andy Turner, Lucy Letby inquiry. Yeah, I'm monitoring that. I've got all the newspapers from the time of her trial as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the newspapers actually reported. I do hope there is an inquiry, because as far as I'm concerned, it feels a little unsafe, the Lucy Letby conviction. Neil Cunningham says, Lucy's innocent in my opinion. And Terry says, there's a good probability you were bang on there, Neil. Statistical evidence is never a good deciding factor in any trial. The problem is with just gobbing off on YouTube is that you are responsible for your own legal defense. So, and I've got a bad back, by the way. So if you hear me twitch and wince, and it's just me bad back. So I'm a bit crocked. I'm getting old, Your Honour. Lauren Taylor, the announcement may be he's going to give all the money he scammed off people for his defence is being donated to charity. I doubt it. Well, Sandra Whittam, I'm here. Sorry I'm late. It's official. Wilder gone. He was gone at the weekend, wasn't he, Sandra? Your manager? I said to you on Sunday night, I'm really sorry that he's gone, but weird things going on in Sheffield United. I do hope they make the Premiership next year. I've got the fixtures, not to rub it in at all, Sandra, but I've got the fixtures looking at it. So long as we get past 12 points, I mean, it's an adventure. But they want to stabilise the Sunderland, the club. And I wish Sheffield United well, because, well, it was the gods. The gods decided who was going to go up to the Premiership. But with Wilder gone, are they going to make it? Not sure. The Championship's a tough old league now. Terry Wookfit, red rum? No. Enil Eno. Murder on line 1. Strange name. Didn't realise Jeremy was into horses. I think that's Meghan Markle. Just let me take a... Oi, 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 that's hot. So, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Welcome to live 1-6 of the Theatre of the Mind. And as I say, I have to bring something to your attention. Now, it's quite embarrassing. But Sister Mary, I don't think bollocking is the term that a nun would use. But she called me into the vestry the other day and she said, Your Eminence, I am a little worried. And I said, Sister Mary, what are you worried about? Is the car still out with the choir boys in a room? And she said, no, I'm not worried about that. She said, I'm just worried about some of the people that are making their way into the body of the Kirk. And I said, oh, okay, Sister Mary, who would that be? Is it a collective noun? She said, well, I think that, I don't know the technical name for it, Your Eminence, but I think there may have been some bell ringers in the body of the Kirk the other day. I said, I didn't hear any bell ringing going off while we were doing the sermon on Sunday. She said, well, I can't really remember. I'd had a touch of the altar wine. It's nothing better than a touch on a Sunday, let me tell you. I had a little altar wine, and maybe it went to my head. But I think there were bell rings. There were, what were they calling themselves? Bellefields. Are they the people that they tug on the rope and they ring the bells? I said, yeah, that's probably them. So maybe there were some bell ringers or Bellefields in the body of the Kirk on Sunday. Pretty funny. Lovely. But she says that she had, her and the nuns had a bit of a to-do into getting things done and sorted after, well, like the cleanup crew, so to speak, after the sermon on Sunday. And she said that, well, someone left some Snickers bars in the pews. And I said, oh, it might have been the choir boys. Every now and again, they just don't want the Mars bars. They prefer a Snickers bar. And she said, no. These weren't wrapped. These were in the pews. I said, Snickers bars in the pews? And she said, yes, I've heard about your Battenberg thing. So I think someone's left some Snickers bars in the pews. I'm not sure they were Snickers bars. It looked like it. I said, I'll have a word. Just make sure the congregation don't leave other little presents around in the body of the Kirk. Because I know you and the nuns get pretty aerated if you have to do more than your fair share. So if you've come in your pocket with a Snickers bar and you take the wrapper home but leave the Snickers bar, how are you, man? Terry Wookfit, the phantom turd layer strikes again. I know. It'll be up the bloody walls next. Gary Shabot. Oh, hi, all. Fabulous day. Dan, Seth. Brilliant, Gary. It's bloody warm everywhere. Absolutely. Reeking, as they say in Scotland. Des Ashton sounds like shite to me. Well, if Tower Block Tracy's in this evening, it might have been her. Because I do know she likes a Snickers bar just so she can feel a vein. She turns them over so she can feel a vein on her tongue. Pauline Makepeace, welcome to the body of the Kirk, the Bad Wolf Project. 39.4 degrees here in en français. Jesus H. Scroll up and read David Brask's comment. Hang on. Thank you, Terry. There may be an element of, I'm trying to do it online, all my stuff tonight, just to cut down on all the printing. Hang on, I'm not far away. David Brask, Street Profits. This channel has been recommended to me by a workmate. Watched a few videos. Finally, someone who speaks to the truth without asking for cash or being jailed. Thank you, David. No, I don't ask for cash. I do it for the love of God and the love of Sunderland Football Club. Because they're not monetized, these lives, but I do like to stick it up the bloody politicians. And I don't mince me words either, bastards. Oh, sorry, you didn't see me lips move. So, David, as ever, when anyone is welcome to the body of the Kirk, make sure you can get in the pews. Ask some of the congregation about the Battenberg thing. It's a BBC thing, seemingly. But with the Snickers bars, I think we might have a few scat fans in. That's why seemingly eating Battenberg makes it more more bouquet-ish. Has a seemingly better smell. That's as far as I'm going, David. But as ever with a newbie, and thank you for commenting in the comments. We'll always pop your cherry first time, so thank you, David. Cheers, Terry. Thank you for alerting me. And hang on, be honest, Rev. You do it for the Battenberg and the J-bombs. Tablock Tracy, you're absolutely correct. And if you want those Snickers bars that were left last week, Sister Mary's put them in the fridge. Don't ask. Okay. Ray Norton, explain Paulie. Hang on, it's Paulie Galtieri in the body of the cook, and he's winding people up. Rev, have you seen those convicted stalker action figures doing the rounds? I have, Paulie. Go to my ex at Adrian Allen, and you'll see some of them. I'm not quite sure what the pink flamingo is. I do. I'm lying. No, I never lie. I'm just. English Bottle Cap says Snickers was originally named Marathon in the UK and Ireland before the name was changed to Snickers in 1990. Yes. There is... no, there's comedy. Oh, hang on a second. Bloody hell, I went down a bit quick. There is a bit of comedy there, but I'll save that for later. So, Marathon Bars, Des Ashton, Squirrel Shit. No, that's Topic. Hazelnut in every bite. Martin Morrill. Hello, long-time listener, first-time caller. Oh, Martin. I'll pop your cherry as well. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Ask the parishioners if I can enunciate my words a little more carefully. Ask the parishioners about the Battenberg. You might need some. And there's free altar wine at the front. And in this heat, I understand the beer garden is open at the back of the Kirk. And you can sit out there. The speakers that are attached to the Kirk are going to carry this evening's sermon. So if you want to sit in the garden and get your baps out and your man boobs and just sit there and Betty Swallocks, then be my guest. I've got a fan on, so to speak. Another comedy opening. Honestly, this I think I've had too many Jaeger bombs in here. It might be lively tonight. Andy B, bit late, Rev. Jesus, my wife's not working. Oh, that's going to be fun for 2 hours. Bit late, Rev. Sorry, Andy. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. So, I've got some good news, and I've got some good news. The good news is 2 more days, and EE will be no more. Foxtrot Oscar to EE. Now, anybody that's been listening regularly over the last month or so, the broadband's not been very good. But 2 more days and BT will be fitted. Thank Christ, said a man of the cloth. Or was that touching cloth? Dale Steele, get us a glass, Rev. Could do with a glass of grape juice. You can have one, Dale, but I'm kind of busy at the minute. You're going to have to make your own up. I don't mean you're going to have to squash the grapes, but if you have a word with Sister Mary, she'll pull you a cold one. Jesus. Oi, 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 oi. And the other good news is the Jeremy Vine interview is recorded. Fantastic session. Jeremy Vine is a gentleman. Do not believe the stuff that you read in the newspapers or online. I know he's got his fans, I know he's got his detractors, but I speak as I find. And I found him to be a very charming, very engaging, and very knowledgeable and wise man. But that will all come out. And yes, I did ask about Hugh Edwards, and he was very. Jeremy was very gracious in the way he answered some of the questions, because we tried to get to. Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. It was. I'm thinking about putting it into 2 parts, or maybe even 3. So the people that are commuting can kind of watch part of it, and then on the way home can watch part of it, and then the next day they can watch the final part of it. Dale Steele, I like Tim Vine. Me too, Dale. And as I told Jeremy yesterday, I interviewed his brother Tim 20 years ago or more at Talk 107 in Edinburgh. He was up for the Edinburgh Festival, and he came in, and I remember us talking about... I don't know how we got round to it, but we were doing the interview, breakfast show at the weekend, and I told him about my martial arts, about my ninjutsu, and he said, "Oh, I want to be a ninja." I said, "Don't worry, Tim, I'll get the details to you." So I've interviewed both Vine brothers, but yesterday was a fantastic session. Thankfully, the studio that I hired was air conditioned, so it was all fabby. Cute and Pete, why does Vine have Narinder Kaur and Yasmin Ali Bongo Brown on his show? Don't know, Cute. I mean, it may not be Jeremy's decision. You know, there are producers that work on telly. There's quite a team working for Channel 5. And did you know, I told him yesterday, I said, you know, when the John Leslie Matthew Wright thing was kicking off, and the Channel 5 and the producers of the show, I think the guy that contacted me was called Jonathan Sashadoshi, and I've seen him recently doing pieces on news channels. I've heard him on LBC. I think I've heard him on Sky. I've seen him on Sky. So he's gone on from being a producer. He was the one that invited me down for the demo, asked me to go down. My ninja is an air fryer, says Des Ashton. Me too, Des. I think pretty much a lot of the country are in agreement. But so I was invited down to London, went and did a demo, live on air demo, and they said, "Look, we really like you. If it ends up where John Leslie sues Matthew Wright, then we'll need somebody to take over." Matthew Wright doesn't know this, doesn't even know this. This is going on in the background. So I was like, "Look, lads, don't wind me up. You either want me or you don't." And they said it's down to whether John Leslie sues him or not. If he sues him, then we have to get him off air, because it was on air where he said he named John Leslie. No, I can't. No, I can't. So I did the demo. I did a little half-hour thing for them, and it could have been the Adrian Allen show, not the Jeremy Vine show. Isn't it bizarre? But we had. He really enjoyed the interview. We had a bit of an anorak, as we call it, about radio. He started at Metro Radio in Newcastle. I was on Teesside at Tees, then TFM. Roughly about the same time, he went to Durham University. I'm a County Durham boy, so there was lots of synergies. And the fact that we could both have an anorak around radio and radio presenters, and we knew many of the same people from the industry. It was just fabulous. Honestly, it was fabulous. So we're going to take a little time to give it a bit of zhuzh, and to add bits and pieces to it when we're talking. We talked some politics, and he's very, very, very clued up on politics. Wonderful. I mean, you know what I'm like. If you talk politics, we could talk all night. So I just want to, there's a few clips that I want to add so you get the context of what's going on. So it's probably going to go live in about a week's time. And as I say, I want to do more interviews. Got a couple more lined up. I'll let you know more about that. But the channel will be still the lives on a Sunday and a Wednesday. There will be memberships coming, and we'll do those so that there'll be more lives, but only for members. And there'll be other videos for members. And when I do more interviews, I know the kind of interview that I want to do that has contemporary resonance for this audience. So I will then tell you when the memberships are going to go live, and there'll be lots of stuff, but within that membership that you'll get, because we've been trying certain things out over the past few months. So Jeremy Vine interview, fantastic session. And the sermon this evening, we're going to have to talk about Iran versus Israel. It's that AI war that doesn't really exist, and you've seen it on social media, so it must be real. Had a weird shite. It's handbags, man. But for those newbies in the comments who might not be up to speed with the information that I give out on here, I am going to tell you exactly what's going on. It's all bullshit, of course. We're going to talk about Bellefield. I'm going to read you an email from a viewer, listener, whom I trust implicitly. I'm going to do a bit of showbiz. I'm going to tell you about a film that's coming August 1st. Tell you about that later. We're going to talk about footy a little bit, not too much, but the Premiership. There's no Boxing Day games. How very dare they? It's an institution, you know. Christmas Day just getting absolutely shitted and filled up with sprouts, so that when you go to the game, you're a farting machine the next day, and then you can't stand there with your mates in the cold just going, who wants another one? This one's warm. It might be a bit liquid after all the beer I drank yesterday. But now they're saying, oh no, Footballers, no, they need a rest over Christmas. Do they, bollocks? 100 grand a week, and they're complaining they're playing football once a week. Here, lads, honestly, I'll get my yayas out and come and play for you. I could be centre forward for Manchester City, mate. Not going to min, left, right and centre. My yayas. I'm going to talk about PMQs today. Oh, I don't know whether you saw it, but Ginger Growler got her arse handed back to her, and she got really annoyed at, was it Chris Phillips? I mean, when you say Chris Phillips, I don't think of a politician. I think of a radio presenter from back in the 80s. But she absolutely just... Chris Phillips was like, here, ugly bird, take this. It's called your arse. Going to talk about Trump. Got a take on the Donald, on the Orange Man. We'll also talk about the late abortion bill. I really don't know what to make of that. I don't. Because politicians don't do anything for the good of the people. They don't. So why have they done that? Literally, a baby that's gone full term can be aborted the day before it's born. Oi, 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 oi. But I do have a take. You know I have a take. Pakistani rape gangs. Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about them because they've tried to flood the zone and they've tried to make us not think of the Pakistani rape gangs. And I can people are going, oh well, they're Asian, so call them Asian. No, the Pakistani origin, the Pakistani. And let's stop using the word grooming. They weren't, well, they kind of were groomed, but they were raped and sexually abused. So stop that. I know it's semantics and I know it's language, but please stop. Because they're not grooming gangs. They are rape gangs. And I'll tell you this as well. The front bench of the Labour Party that was sitting there at PMQs today, I've never, ever, ever seen more evil in my life in one place. They were all sitting there like their asses had just been slapped. Mind you, they probably pay good money for it. And also, I don't want to get into the Pakistani rape gangs yet because I am going to get angry. I know I am. Because it's just... Les Griffiths, hang on, Les. They can be unalived after birth too. Oi, 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 oi. English bottle cap, the abortion bill is pure evil. Let's just... the sermon has to have an order. We will get to it, but I have got my take on it. It's not a nice one, but it's a truthful one. So, just as a little aside, Israel and Iran and America. USA, USA, USA. What's the Donald doing? Now, I did tell you that World War III would not kick off if the Donald was elected as president. I told you that. But I think he's ill. So I'm not quite sure his head's working proper. So J.D. Vance is going to have to step up and take the reins, maybe. But somebody did say to me, June, he was going to be ill. And I thought, how can you predict that? Look at March 2020. So, interesting that Terry's said about the Pakistani rape gangs being Starmer. And I told you before, go and look at PMQs from last Wednesday. After PMQs had finished and Rachel Reeves stood up. He's almost trying not to gurn. You know what I'm saying, don't you? And then he's kind of... unusual for a man that's obviously so controlled normally, unless he's on a train. Ransom pods coming next. Well, I don't think so. I think the unalived bill or unaliven bill is going to be kicked into the long grass, but there's some people getting very, very worried because it has changed since it went through its initial reading. Nuts and Bolts says most wars start in the month of September. Interesting. So let me tell those that are not used to being part of the body of the Kirk and these lives on a Sunday and Wednesday. I do welcome everyone that if you are a newbie, first time listening to this or seeing this, then you might be on a dog walk the day after, but please let me know that you're a first timer, because I always appreciate all the comments and everybody saying how they feel. So it's kind of like a modern day phone in. You can say what you want in the comments. If I can, I will pick them up and I will interact with them. So as a phone-in presenter, radio phone-in presenter of 40 years. Evening, Amalia, David Brask, Starmer Gurning. That is very good. If I can get me Gurning, must be saddle rash, if you get my meaning. Could be. Mind you, he did get possibly got it from Zelensky or the French premier who's married to a bloke. Didn't see me lips move. So let me tell you this. You need to be able to count up to 7, because there are 7 countries whose central banks don't belong to the Rothschilds. They include Venezuela, Hungary, North Korea, Russia, China, Syria. Have I said Hungary? And Iran. So just watch, and I've been telling people for years, this is not new, I've been telling people for 30 odd years, since the 80s, and this is the deal. This spat with Russia and Ukraine almost got them over the line with Russia. China will be the last one to fall, because China is always looking for stability. They don't want to fight, they want stability, because they make more money from stability. Venezuela, you'll randomly see news stories about either oil or America being upset with them. You'll see reportage about Hungary and the Europeans finding them because Hungary is not doing as they are told. They've got to take migrants, and Hungary's like, do we ain't shake, man? No, Foxtrot Oscar, we're not taking them. Up yours. So the Europeans, Ursula von der Leyen bitch, the Europeans are really upset with Hungary. Oh, I wonder why. It's got nothing to do with immigrants. It's got everything to do with, we want your bloody central bank. So, the Rothschilds have fingers in lots of pies. They are puppet masters. They can even, I saw a picture of one of the Rothschilds, pork and Charles, weak, the monarch, the king. Pork and Charles, the weak in the chest. I mean, how many men are that powerful that can say to Charles, here, mate, what you did to Diana was just inexcusable. And now you've married a fucking horse. So the Rothschilds want control. It's a bit like a one world order. I was going to talk about the Bilderberg group this week. I might do it on Wednesday because we're pretty full tonight. Lord Ali Saddle, I knew where you were going. Check your Geiger counters are in good working order, plus spare batteries, and your iodine tablets are close to hand. Thank you, nuts and bolts. It's not. I don't think it's going to get to that. I think what they're doing is this is a negotiation. So take the other 6 and put it to one side. Iran, off the top of my head, has 90 million people living in it, and 95% are Muslim, but Shiite, and then the other 5% is Sunni Muslim. So it's a Muslim country with 8,000 Jews living there. I mean, they must have massive kahunas. Oh, yeah. Where are we going, darling? I think we should go and live in Iran. What? Are we not going to Israel? No. I just, I've got mates. I've got some Iranian mates, and we're going to go and live in Iran. There's divorce number 1. And do you know in Israel, do you know how to get a divorce in Israel? You just go to the rabbi. It's like, can you remember back in the day? I divorce thee, I divorce thee, I divorce thee. That's a divorce. I'm shitting you not. It still works if she's kind of, brassed you off. And look, as a man that's been single for nearly most of his life, marriage is challenging, especially when you have to be assertive. If only I divorce thee, I divorce thee. It's genuinely true in Israel. So, Amalia, I do say, I'm taking out of context, we'll have to pop in and out. I say. So, Iran. So, Forget the other 6, just this one. So if they play it right, and look, the Donald is only in power by the grace of other more powerful people. Is it? Is my picture getting fuzzy? In Newcastle, an illegal migrant walks into a family home, goes straight upstairs to the bathroom where the kids were bathing, and walks out like he owned it. Lasses caught him and dealt with. Ladies, they'll have kicked the shit out of him. How can you tell when a Geordie lass is having an orgasm? She drops the chips. Just switch off and switch back on again, nuts and bolts. It appears it's okay for me. But the Geordie's going to be kicking off. Burlington Bertie picture getting fuzzy like their opinions. Oi, stop that, Burlington Bertie, you're wrong. So for the newbies, just watch Iran. This is postulating. All they're doing is, we've got bigger bombs than you. Don't you be shooting those bombs over to us, because we'll bomb you. Like Iran yesterday, they said, here, and it was in Iranian, of course, not to be translated, but officially it was like, oi, we're going to send some bombs over tonight. You better be prepared, because we're going to send some bombs. And they didn't. Right, okay, let me have a look. Ah, got it. Right, okay. Let's have a look. Let me just check. Right. Right, the picture appears to be okay. Hang on, what's Les said now? Interesting. Right, the picture should be better now. So I'll get on with it, because there's newbies in the body of the coat this evening that might not know this. So the 7 central banks, the minute the Rothschilds own them, and please do not think that the Bank of England belongs to England. No, it's a private company owned by. Correct. And the Fed doesn't belong to America. It's a private company that belongs to. Yep. So they've got Syria. Syria was one of the 7. They've already got Syria because Syria's fallen. So the next easy ones will be Hungary and Venezuela. North Korea is going to prove problematic, as will Russia and China. And Iran, they can, they can deal with it and take it. Thank you. Yes, I'm back. Yes, I'm not quite sure what that was. Private corporations. That's why Klaus Schwab released the book about stakeholder corporations. No, stakeholder capitalism. So the corporations, that's why politics has changed. It's not politics anymore. It's about appeasing the stakeholders and the private corporations, of which is BlackRock. And there's a lot of shenanigans going on in the background for BlackRock to buy up our housing stock. And I have a take on it, which I will get to in just a little while. And the... let me just move this out of the way on my screen. Thank you. So this stuff that's going on around Israel and America, and Donald Trump going, right, send in big bombs. And then send in the warships and the warplanes and the war things. And no, it's being fought by drones now, Donald. Don't you know? And there's, look, if the Israelis and if the Iranians genuinely mean what they say, just nuke the fuck out of each other. Stop messing about. Just get it sorted. The Israelis, look, how do we end shape, man? It's Bibi Netanyahu at the top. Bibi, the most evil man on planet Earth, because he's staying as a war prime minister so that he stays in office and he's not dragged kicking and screaming into a court to face charges from the Israeli people. So that's why Bibi Netanyahu wants it escalating with Iran, because he stays as prime minister. They pretty much got Gaza sorted, and be aware that over the next few weeks they're going to start slaughtering more Gazans, because they want that oil and gas out of the East Mediterranean Sea and under the Gaza Strip, and the Ben Gurion Canal. They want to start building that if they haven't already. Remember, the Americans, $300 million port was built, to bring aid ashore. My hairy backside. Was it hell? It was to make sure that they could bring all the military might, and they built the road to the port straight away. It wasn't, we'll look after human beings. No. We'll get the port and everything. And then they sorted, and the Americans said, we've demolished the port. Why would you do that? Well, we've given aid to the Gazans, so we don't need the port anymore. You've spunked 300 million for a port, a deep water port. Is it at Haifa or Ashdod, or a little bit further, Accra, where the Knight Templars had their stronghold? They're deep water ports. So why are they not there? Because the bloody gas and oil's not there. They're going to bring it. They're going to bring it ashore halfway up the Gaza Strip, and they're going to have to get rid of the Gazans. So they're either going to euthanize them, or they're just going to give them the Sinai Peninsula between Egypt and Israel and keep them penned in like dogs. It's coming. It is coming. I predicted this 2.5 years ago. So. Okay, it's getting a bit lively in the comments. I will get on and finish this part of the story off. So, I believe that Iran is going to have to cough up their central bank as part of the deal. The Americans don't really need the gas and oil, because the gas and oil that's under the East Mediterranean and under the Gaza Strip is going to make Israel one of the wealthiest countries on planet Earth, a bit like the Saudis, and their oil's running out, seemingly, or I was told that 20 years ago. But there's this thing that I've seen, and I've posted it on X. Israel, in their newspapers in 1984, headlines: Iran is in the final stages of making a nuclear bomb. So, Mephistopheles, found my first grey puke today. Nuclear war means nothing. Yeah, we've all been there, Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles, thank you. It's all about the central banks. Everything that happens in an aggressive way around the world is a banker's war. That's all it is. It's the deep state, the military-industrial complex making a few bob. Now, Israel was given $110 billion by the Americans just 18 months ago, after the October the 7th. Bibi Netanyahu went with his begging bowl to America and said, lads, $110 billion. So now they're running out. So they're going to need more money. They're going to have to go back to the Americans and say, can we, please? So just keep an eye on it. There's not going to be a war. There's not. Because Israel's running out of missiles. The Golden Dome, or the Golden Archers, they're not quite stopping some of the missiles that are coming across from Iran, or the other bits and pieces. So there's not going to be a war. I know that some Brits can't get in and out of Israel. They've stopped flights into and out of. So it's, yes, of course, but you have to remember that Israel is not a fighting country. It's not a fighting force. They get all the gubbins from the Americans, of course, but they're not fighters at all. They're just gentle Jews, sometimes with an attitude. Well, they're not fighters. But we Brits are. We love a scrap, us. The Americans, well, they've got to be high on speed to be able to fight anything, especially their Air Force. Did I say that out loud? We've kicked ass around the world. That's why we had an empire, because we're bloody good fighters. Let's get into Bellefield. Tablock Tracy. Breaking news. Keir Starmer has announced that this year he will in Panto, as he will be, this year he will be in Panto, as he'll be out of a job by October. He will be starring in Aladdin, and not for the first time. Tablock Tracy. You could say that, but I can't possibly comment. Burlington Bertie, House of Saudi, Friends of GB Royal Family, see today's Royal Ascot, and the friends they keep. In this heat. So I'm going to read this email that I received the other day. And as I say, this particular emailer always remains anonymous, but I trust them implicitly with their information and what they say. And they said, Rev, I think somebody's playing games with the general public over the convicted stalker. Either him or the Daily Mail. I was told on Tuesday he'd been released on Monday. Strange, eh? His website started getting altered on Monday too, like the books. And tour details being stopped from purchasing, etc. He starts tweeting on Friday. As for Amazon removing his books, they didn't. He did. Books can be sold under Amazon Marketplace. They take a cut for you, advertising on their platform. They can also do the posting if you give them stock, and you can do it yourself. I think Bellefield has had a small number of his first book printed privately to see what interest there was. Only had artwork done for the next couple. Hasn't really finished the others. This would cover some of the initial order, and he had options to cancel or increase publication depending on the results. Here's my take on what actually happened last week. He wanted a couple of days to himself when he got out, so was driven home, possibly by Tarquin. He took a couple of days to decompress, as it were, and then on Wednesday rang the Daily Mail or someone on his behalf and told them to be at Fossway on Thursday at, let's say, 11 a.m. as he was getting out. But we know from the trial he's actually out. He waited till they turned up, then he did the photos. Where would he get black tape from as he was being released? 2.5 years inside. Look, they're not into BDSM in jail, so they're not going to give him black tape to tape up his gob, are they? Inside. Can you imagine the mayhem and chaos a roll of black tape would cause inside? So, as this emailer says, where would he get black tape from as he was being released? They don't like giving you fuck all on release, said a spokesperson. Only what is actually your own. Also, the Churchill printed sheet and the Trump no surrender poster taped to his back. Strange to take that from your cell as well. Most prisoners take personal photos and belongings but sell wall art. Nah, the whole thing stinks. On Wednesday, members of the secret VOR website and also purchasers of tickets and buyers of his first book received this email. And the emailer quotes directly. We regret to announce that Alex's long-awaited comeback has been postponed. There are dark forces at work behind the scenes, making it impossible for Alex to move forward as planned. There will be a video released on our own website and also on YouTube, giving you more details shortly. At this point, we cannot confirm whether Alex will be back. I quote further, or the email, the writer quotes further, we share your heartbreak and frustration, as we were just as excited as you for Alex's return. We want to reassure everyone who purchased gig, tour, hotel tickets that they will be fully refunded. There is no need to worry about having to make a claim or request a refund. Every ticket holder will automatically receive a full refund to their original payment method. Little nervousness there. Totally not in the way of speaking, writing that Tarquin uses. I know. And, well, let's just kind of leave the fraud allegations to one side for the moment, because there were many when he went inside to do his 2.5 years, but sentenced to 5.5 years. Please be aware that you have to make sure that your full term is spent. So he might have done 2.5 years, but he's still got nearly 3 years to go. He can't do anything unless that is spent, and it's not for the moment, so he can't. It also states the first batch of his autobiography, His Own Worst Enema, has been shipped, but that book is also marked as banned. So has he actually sent out copies to some people? One of his tweets shows a few copies on an Amazon delivery, though the Amazon packages aren't book packaging. Or worse, did Amazon have some stock and sent it out on Monday before he could stop them? I'm getting the impression, that's the writer of the email, AB may be going on holiday sooner than we think. Not sure you can leave the country if you're on licence, unless it's previously agreed. So, for your context and insight, some of the tickets that were being sold were up to 495 quid, which included a hotel, slap-up meal, and the show. Now, you know that I'm measured in the way that I tackle this particular subject, simply because I think the self-confessed liar ×2 is actually struggling, because he needs instant gratification. So he's wanted to come out, he's wanted to go and do his thing on YouTube and on X, but it feels like it's a guy having an existential crisis. I've said to you many months ago that going inside jail is not an easy thing to do. As some might, Johnny Big Bollocks style it out, that doesn't work at all. It's meant to be traumatic because the system doesn't want you going back into jail. It doesn't. So if he's having an existential crisis, then if you add vodka to that, you don't know whether it is a crisis or he is genuinely unhinged. But it appears he's posting stuff on X and then deleting it. So I don't know whether that's going to be his style, whether you're going to have to monitor his channel. I don't know. I've got better things to do. But I think that, oh, by the way, we're not dog sitting. So that's one of the neighbour's dogs who like to wind up the dogs that were staying here. And the 2 dogs that were staying here didn't muck about. So that little thing just disappeared for a while, because the 2 that were staying here were proper northerners. So I do believe that it's not easy having been in jail. We're talking about the convicted stalker, the self-confessed liar, in 2 different cases, in 2 libel cases in the High Court. And he's been inside. You can't just walk out that door. It's traumatic in there. And if you've got the sword of Damocles hanging over your head, which is, I've got another 3 years. And if I say or do the wrong thing at any point in the next 3 years, I go back inside and finish my sentence off, that'll be the whole 3 years. If you make a mistake, which I hope he doesn't, he goes back inside for 3 years. Stuart says, Tarquin should have known that there was always a possibility that the conditions of his license would get in the way of him touring and publishing books. If the convicted stalker had actually played the game with the system, there would have been every chance that he would have gotten out and he would have been able to tour. But he didn't. He didn't play the game. He thought he was the cleverest man in the room, and the system, whether it be the probation system or the prison system or et al. Or MAPA, he's just been told, Bonnie lad, you do as you're told. It's really that simple. You do as you're told. You can't tell the system, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And that's my fear, that he's kicking and flinging, he's come out full of piss and vinegar, and he's going to take on the system. But if he wants to take on the system because he feels that way people will donate money to him, then that's wrought with danger. I think that's the only word I can use. It's fraught with danger. And I don't want that for him. I've said to you before, my belief that he's done half of his sentence. He needed to come out, head down, arse up, out, and disappear. Just, he's got life-changing money, but he obviously wants more. But greed will only get you one place. And do you know when he's talking about this, having written books? Now, I've told you repeatedly, Alex doesn't write. He's not a great writer. Speaking, brilliant. But writing, he's not a writer. And did you see, or have you seen, that there is another writer credited with writing his books? Is it somebody, Jesse, or Jesse somebody? I haven't written it down. I was going to try and get that. But if you go to Amazon and look at one of his books, I don't know whether it's been ghostwritten, or it's actually being written by somebody else, or whether he's dictated it down the phone, or what has gone on. But as I told you, and I always corroborate things. When I tell you stuff, I corroborate it. Burlington Bertie, good question. Can he read, Adrian? Yeah, he would have had to have been able to read to be my phone op. But, you know, some people that can't read do cover it up. I can't answer either way. I just know that he's not a great writer. He has used people in the past to write for him in many different guises, but it seems to me that either the other person has ghost written the one book I was looking at and probably helped him write it, but he's written and self-published those books via Amazon. And as the anonymous emailer said, that you can buy them from Amazon. You, the writer, the owner of the works, can buy them from Amazon and then, you know, put them out for full price on his shows. But I did repeatedly say to you, and I'm saying this in the most supportive way I can, it wasn't the way that the convicted stalker went into jail. It was always going to be how he came out. Now, obviously, he came out at the trial, out. But I said he would come out. It was going to be traumatic. And my advice to him was take a month. Take at least a month just to find your feet, get into the routine of going to bed and sleeping in your own bed and being with Doddy, and stay off the vodka. Because it's when he's on the vodka, that's when he gets himself into trouble. In my view, loves a bit of Grey Goose. Especially from people in Vegas who buy it for him. Isn't that right, Alex? Piala says he's fake, and I've been calling him out on that from the beginning, almost amongst other things. Les says a rumour I just started is that the author is the bloke who wrote Jack and Ori. Could be ghostwritten. Alex would have been able to dictate it down the phone. But the person that's possibly a ghostwriter, I think, is American and possibly living in America. So it might be challenging. I don't know what Bad Wolf Project said, but Mephistopheles, narcissistic as he obviously is, doesn't know or understands redemption. Vodka sounds like self-medicating. There's lots going on in him. That's why I said there's a possible existential crisis going on here. And I wouldn't, anybody, it doesn't matter who they are, I wouldn't wish that on them. Nicholas says, once a prisoner is in debt for protection to other prisoner, it can be hard to get out of it, and not paying debts can have consequences and violence. I agree, Nicholas. I do agree. So I saw the reportage from the Daily Mail, and I did ask myself, why is his mouth taped up? Where did he get the tape from? And then the stuff that he was showing everyone. And it was a setup. So how this works, you, as a stringer, that's the technical word for someone who has a bit of a story, rings the news desk and says, I've got a story for you. Stringer will get a fee, and the stringer could say, guys, just come out, famous YouTuber, just come out of jail, served 2.5 years. You've already got pieces on him in your reportage, in your newspaper. So if you want to, he's coming out at 11 a.m. Thursday morning. I was told he got out on Monday, but there was this silence And I knew there was something going on. But then when it came out on Thursday, I was like, hang on a second. His out date was 15th, which was the Sunday. So they were never going to release him on a Sunday. So I'd heard that it was Monday the 9th, and that source was impeccable. And then nothing. And then he suddenly pops up on the Thursday. So if somebody, him or somebody on his behalf, might have called the news desk as a stringer saying, I've got a story for you. Do you want this? Just send a photojournalist up, take a few pictures, and I'll give you a bit more. So it's if you look at what are the convicted stalker's options, he's got really tight license conditions, really tight. Can't go from stage, books are banned because they don't know what's in them. He's kicking and flinging on X. Somebody sent me something earlier where he's kicking off about some of his letters went missing. But part of his license agreement is that he does not bring HMP, the Ministry of Justice, into disrepute. Now, I would suggest that they will look at a course of conduct. They're not just going to go, he's done this, and it's one thing, and then boof, off you go. It will be that they've looked at what he's done, how he's done it, and then they'll monitor it to see if it happens again. And the course of conduct, as they say legally, only needs 2 events. So if he does it once, he's done it within the first week of getting out. They won't really do anything unless it's really, really bad. Then they will just, it's a, Mr. Bellefield, yes, come with us. They'll even handcuff him to make sure he can't do a runner. And it's a straight recall. There's no arguing. There's no calling your barrister or your brief. There's no arguing or negotiating at all whatsoever. They'll just confirm his name, that he is who he says he is, and that the paperwork they have corroborates that, and they will literally say, come with us. And he will be taken then from thence and taken to prison straight away. Straight recall, that's how it works. So already he's sailing very close to the wind. And Alex, if you're watching this, stop. Just stop. But I know you can't, because you can't earn any money. And remember when you were in court for the Nottinghamshire police, when they asked for £20,000 costs, and the judge awarded them 400 quid because your barrister told the judge that you only had you could only pay I think it was 400 and odd quid because you had no way of earning any money when you came out of jail. Correct, because the system worked out what you were doing. You didn't play ball with the system. You should have just played ball. And now play ball. Because that sort of Damocles, some people are taking bets that it's going to be before Christmas. I think it's going to be before that. And did somebody tell him that a KC can take any inquiry, can look into and hold an inquiry into Tim Westwood's time at the BBC? That's not getting a job from the BBC. The corruption that you alleged, Alex, you nearly didn't get out of jail. What are you doing? You've got enough money to see out the next 3 years. Once your conviction is spent, or convictions are spent, just go on and live your life. Go from stage. Do whatever you want. And as I say, Alex, if you are watching this, or anybody that is with Alex and seemingly calling themselves friends of Alex, you are welcome on this channel anytime. Anytime. It would be very interesting to hear your take. All that would happen is we'd start a live, send you the link, join me on the live. Anytime. And the one thing that I hope for you, this is a plea to Alex. These people online that purport to be your friends and they're saying really nasty shit about people that could get you into trouble. And you get into trouble legally, criminally, you're going back to jail for 3 years. You've got to stop them, Alex. You can't motor these people and get some kind of community going or get some kind of demonstration going. Look, we know how this works, Alex. You've been away for 2.5 years and you don't even know what happened in Southport. And if you do, you will recognise that the government, the man, the deep state always wins. Don't take it on, Alex, because you've already mentioned certain words in your posting, because there are people contacting me that are worried about Alex. Quite rightly. He's never going to win. And you can't keep, we'll keep going, we'll keep going, we'll keep going. They don't care. They don't care if you're dead. They don't care if anybody's dead. Look at what happens around the world. Look at what happened to those little girls in Southport. And then Tia Kia appears from nowhere, laying flowers. And Yvette Cooper laying flowers. Mate, they don't care. They'd rather see a dead man than a problem. And look, if they can kill a princess, and I will caveat this by saying I don't want this for Alex. I want Alex to be in pursuit of happiness, whatever makes him happy. But look, just knock out the next 3 years. And then once that conviction is spent, you can go and do whatever you want, except travel to certain countries around the world. You've been sentenced for 5.5 years. The judge knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. You weren't playing ball with him. He gave you 5.5. You can't go to America now. America doesn't allow you. You can apply. But can you imagine? You're taking the government on. You're taking the power on. Even when your conviction's spent, stays on your record for all your life. I agree with Terry Wookford saying here that well, Les Griffith says prison is not appropriate. A secure mental hospital facility would be more beneficial to him. He needs support and help. And at this time, can you imagine? You've been inside for 2.5 years. So you're kind of, you're trying to keep tabs on what's going on in the outside world. But really, Southport, the Donald, the Labour government, the evil that's in power at the moment, and literally, whether it's Lucy Connolly or other people, they don't care. These are politicians that are drunk on power. They don't care. They try to make you think that they do, but they don't. They'd rather see you dead. It's easy. Dead men can't speak. And that's a general observation rather than to a particular person. Terry says, no, he doesn't. If he was wise, he would. But you have to remember Alex's ego walking. Remember how he used to say he knew the law, he was trained, and all that bollocks. Look, I went on the same course. Not the same course as him, but the BBC have courses that they want you to do to kind of get some semblance of legal training. So I did exactly the same. And it's bollocks. I had legal training at Century 106. I don't know. I don't think Alex was actually on that course. Might have been. But I was just sitting there, just being an agent provocateur. That was my job. But the problem is when a human being wants instant gratification. You get that from social media. You can put a video up and get, your ego soothed or your ego stroked. You can go on X and get people to like and click. And that's what part of the interview I did with Jeremy Vine yesterday. We talked about this at length, about the difference between being a phone-in presenter in the 80s and the main character of Murder on Line 1. And I have read the book, and it is, if you're going during the summer, buy one, take it with you. It's actually quite well written and quite, in my view, very, very interesting as a radio guy. But it's accessible for the man and woman on the street. So that instant gratification that's there for people to just access it. You can't do that in prison. If you do, you get found out. You get found out, well, yeah, you're all in all kinds of shite. Nicholas says, I wouldn't be surprised if he's banned from central London. He's up in Nottingham. And another schoolboy error. Why would you call Nottinghamshire police corrupt and go for them just gobbing off when you're living in their area? Schoolboy error. Absolute schoolboy error. Head down. You've got money, life-changing money. Just see the next 3 years out and then go from stage again. Because your audience will always be there. Some of them have walked away, but your audience will always be there. Hang on a second. Les Griffith says about the politicians, they're all corrupt. Nuts and bolts. I'll watch Play Misty for Me with Clint Eastwood. That's fabulous. There is a better one than that. It's called Talk Radio, with the main character is a guy called Eric Bogosian. You can find it on IMDb. I'm sure it's called Talk Radio, and it's about an American talk show host. And Eric Bogosian's got a fantastic voice. But all the characters in that film, every phone-in presenter will have had that experience. Now look, Alex was never a phone-in presenter. He tried to be, but he got caught out. Especially at Capital AM. He wanted to introduce the phone-in. He always wanted to be the phone-in. He always wanted to be me or Scotty or others. But he's not a phone-in presenter. He hasn't got any empathy or compassion about him. Because a phone-in presenter is there for any subject at any time. So you have to have an understanding of everything that's going on in the world. And from the bits and pieces I've been sent, you can see that he's struggling after 2.5 years to play catch up with stuff and make it relevant for his audience. But his audience don't care about that. And one tweet or one reply that I saw, because the emailer that wrote me that also sent me a couple of screen grabs. And they were saying, just get back to what you do well. Funny. But coming out of jail full of piss and vinegar is not very funny at all. And I believe that's what Alex should do. He should concentrate on humour. He should concentrate on being funny and concentrate on making other people laugh. Phone-ins? Look, Scotty's trying to do phone-ins on YouTube. Hasn't worked. I know that Voice of Reason, Alex is not a great phone-in presenter. Because, as I say, he has no empathy. He's had people on his phone-in, from what I gather from other people, where he's just not understood what they were talking and calling about. I've said to you before, I was doing a late-night phone-in on a Friday night in the Northeast. And that phone-in on Century Radio had more listeners to my phone-in than all the other radio stations in the Northeast combined. And I talked to some guy who was being really misogynistic, and I was, arguing with him, and he was arguing with me, and I cut the call off because I knew I had one call to go. It was I was finishing the phone in at 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 till 1, and I saw one more call. I thought, right, I'll take that, and we'll do that, and then we'll get to 1 o'clock, and then I can go home. So I cut the guy off by saying to him, look, we'll leave it there. We're never going to agree. I've had some great sex in my time, albeit on my own. Humour. And then I go to the next guy, and I said, oh, so-and-so, you're live on Century Radio. He said, oh, it's all right for you to laugh. I've made the noose, finished it, it's around my neck, I'm standing on the chair, and I'm going to jump. You don't get training for that. You have to have empathy and compassion for a fellow human being that evidently was struggling. So what happened was the guy that was following me, Norman, I said to him, look, go and grab a McDonald's or something. This is going to be a while. I'm not sure how long. It might end up being, I dropped all the news. I couldn't leave him alone. I couldn't say, oh, I'm just going to go and take the news just to take some stuff overnight. I just kept talking to him and talking to him and talking to him. Norman went off and grabbed a coffee, and I spent the next 3 hours, I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, when the actual on-air call finished. And no training. You just have to have empathy. And I know some people say sympathy, but you know where sympathy is in the dictionary, don't you? Between shit and syphilis. So I having no training, I knew this guy was genuine, but what do? And it's a morality tale. Do you, somebody that's struggling, do you stop the call and just hand him on to some other people or groups that might support him? But for me, he was on the radio, he'd called for a reason, and he was going to kill himself. So I was searching, trying to search for something that emotionally would engage him. And he just, in part of the conversation, because I was trying to work out why he was doing this, and he at first he wouldn't tell me. There was obviously domestic issues of some sort. Les Griffiths, absolutely spot on, Les. Sometimes they just need to be listened to. And I listened to him. Because the number one rule of communication is listening. So I listened to the guy, and we talked about stuff, and he just said, oh, it's my daughter's birthday today. That's all I needed. So we just talked and kind of danced around for a while. And I said to him, you do realise that if you do what you are intending, that every time your daughter has a birthday, it will be the anniversary of your death. And I just left him sobbing his heart out on air. Because you know the other thing, in commercial radio terms, that's why I was saying it's that moral dilemma. Do you keep them on for the listener, or do you take them off air because they need to be supported? But he was happy to talk and talk and talk and talk, and him letting me know it was his daughter's birthday, that was the thing that helped me just get him to recognise that this wasn't such a great idea. I'd been talking to him for about 3 hours. I was shattered, but couldn't do anything. I couldn't leave. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't go to the news for fear of anything happening. Because remember, noose was round his neck. He'd finished it, and he was on a chair, and he was going to jump. And he put the phone down on me. He just said, I've had enough. Bang, phone went down. And your mind's racing. What do I do? Has he jumped? What's going on? What do I do? And I just said to the phone up, get Norman down here now. I just rattled through the software, put a song on of 5 minutes to give me a breather to get Norman down to kind of bless him to do his show. And I went straight into the other studio and called this guy back. Thankfully, he picked the phone up. And as Les said earlier, that some people just need listening to. And I think that's what this was in this case. But you can't know that. So the great, and I'm not including myself in this before you start, the great phone-in presenters have a sixth sense. They know when it's a prank call. They know when something's going on. They know when someone's struggling. They just know. It's a sixth sense. Because you do so many of these calls, you kind of get to understanding the people that's calling in. Late at night, they may have had a drink. They emotionally may be a little fragile. But when you're doing that on YouTube, it's a very difficult and different arena. You can't really do phone-ins on YouTube. Proper. So Anybody that's doing phone-ins on YouTube, it's just going to be surface level stuff. They can't do late night radio. Takes an extraordinary talent, if I may say, and there have been many in this country. Many. I'll take some of your comments before I go on to talk about the other stuff, because I know we've spent quite a while on that. Terry says, I think it's good when people turn their lives around. Don't like to see people waste their chances that they are given, though. Nuts and Bolts says, this skill is often called social intelligence. Thank you, Nuts and Bolts. I mean, I've heard some... I heard James Whale, and Jeremy Vine and I talked about this yesterday, because he was working at Metro when Jeremy was doing the phone-in. When Jeremy was working at Metro Radio when James was doing the phone-in. And James, for all his bluff and bluster, and I understand he's very ill at the moment, for all his bluff and bluster, there was a very sensitive guy right at the heart of that. And he knew, and I've heard many calls to the late night phone-in, night owls, whether it's Alan Robson doing it, or Alan Bezic, or James Whale. I've heard those men, and on first appearance, you think they're just bombastic and they love an argument, but there is an essence at their core. If somebody calls them in trouble, they always respond. Les Griffiths, censoring on YouTube is now so bad, many of the convicted stalker's callers would get his site taken down. Wow, really? Terry says, I'm not allowed in Spain, sorry, but can get some recommendations for you if you want. Oh, interesting. James Whale is a very intelligent guy. Yeah, I know. Beata, did Jeremy Vine mention him? Yes, of course. We were, as I say, we're roughly about the same age, and we're dyed in the wool radio guys. I don't think his producers would allow that kind of dramatic call on his lunchtime phone-in on Radio 2. But he has the utmost respect. From my conversation yesterday, he has the utmost respect for anybody that does radio. He loves it. It just literally courses through his veins. And it's an art that's dying, sadly. Where's the Scotty McClues, or the James Wales, or the James Stanagers, or the Alan Bezics, or some of the London guys, or the Caesar the Geezer, or some of the late night boys that have done radio? Where are they now? Where are they coming from? They're not. And it's... Rich says, I've just been listening tonight, but had to log in and say how good James Whale is. Always. I mean, I'm an archer, and have a great respect for James Whale's archery. And it's going to be... So I've listened to James Whale, Jesus H, 50 years. I was listening to him in the back end of the 70s. And from the mid-70s, and there was a time when I couldn't concentrate at school the next day because I'd been up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning listening to the radio, and then I was back up at 7. I was, 13, 14-year-old, took the radio to bed. Just couldn't get enough of James Whale on Night Owls. But there are characters. James H. Reeves on Piccadilly Radio was fantastic. I agree. Ray Norton. Or Orchidia says, it's a shame radio is dying off. I'm a listener all my life. I know, and that's why we did look at it technically, how we could make a phone-in work on YouTube. I wasn't going to go down the route of just using Skype or something and just accepting calls. No, there has to be a degree of quality control. And, sometimes phone-ins don't get that many callers. There are other times, depending on the subject, where you get millions of callers. But it's using whatever is presented to you in a way that's entertaining for the listener. Because the phone-ins is never about the callers. Phone-ins is always about the listener. And drama. I'll give you an insight. Tower Block Tracy, Umberto was class. Yeah, I took oh no, I won't say that. What was I going to say? I was going to lift the veil. I was going to talk about callers. Yes. So within a radio station, you have something called the emergency. Well, it was called the emergency tape. It'll obviously be called the emergency something or other. So you know when Diana died, or the Queen Mother, or a Major Royal, all the radio stations go into what we call the obit, OBIT procedure, and the case was always in the studio. So literally, if a particular light flashed in the studio, I called it the oh shit light, because it's a royal that's died, and you've got to do it the right way. So you get all the instructions out of the case, you run through it, you play the songs, and the songs are specially chosen because they're not antagonistic, so to speak. A bit like Albatross, Fleetwood Mac, perfect obit. You just put it on, and it's not offensive in any way, shape, or form. So that's why they do it. And as well as the obit box, there is this emergency tape. So if the radio station has a malfunction, a technical malfunction, then this tape would kick in and play for, I don't know, maybe 90 minutes. And it would play until you could either get an engineer there to work out what was going on in the background, and you could get the radio station back on air. Sometimes it was a really easy fix, so it might only take half an hour, 45 minutes. But this emergency tape kicks in after 45 seconds of dead air, and dead air is silence. But the one thing that I used as a tool was silence. So you would say something to me and I would just say nothing. Close all the faders. That person couldn't speak. I'll just leave it silent. And there have been times where I've left it to 44 seconds just before the emergency tape kicks in. And then I just open my microphone and continue talking. Because that's why this channel's called the Theatre of the Mind. And it's about the engagement of the listener, not the caller, the listener. You do everything for the listener. And I would leave it 44 seconds because the listener, the first thing, if there's silence, the first thing the listener does is turn it up. They're listening, not hearing, listening to you. They're listening to what you're doing, you're saying, and what's happening. And if there's silence on the radio, they turn it up. And then after 44 seconds, I would just go back on and go, talk about any subject, whatever it was. Especially if someone is struggling and you can hear them crying. Emotion always engages the radio audience. So there have been times when my phone up through the window has been looking at me, and that would have included Alex Bellefield, looking at me through the glass, going, and we had what we call talkback. So they would press a button and be able to speak to me in my ear, and nobody else could hear. And they would go, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" I'll just say, "Don't worry," and I'll be watching the clock. Yeah, but the emergency tape is going to kick in. It's going to kick in. It's going to kick in. It's fine. 44 seconds, poof, back in. Emergency tape didn't kick in. And some of my phone ups, I'm sure I gave them heart attacks. But it's for the listener. It's got nothing to do with the presenter, nothing to do with the caller. So I think the reason why phone-ins have been taken off air is because they're too dangerous for the parasitical classes. Far too dangerous. Because people have opinions. It's like on here. That's why I don't monetize this. YouTube will leave me alone. Because I'm not disturbing anybody, because I'm not monetizing it. They want me to monetize stuff so that they can make money as well as me. But that's why I do these for free. What's that? Oi Oi Savaloy, Soul Rebel, Mel Scholes, Paula White. Oh, Paula White! Oh, bloody hell! Paula White. How can I say this? Paula likes a tipple. I've been at dinner parties, and Paula White's husband, then, who I'm not going to name, was having an affair with somebody else, and the newspapers got hold of it. Oh, it was lively, proper lively. Don't think Paula's in radio anymore, but she's a character. I think, was it was it Paula who pitched up for her show and was absolutely shitted, and they had to walk her around to try and sober her up before she got on air. Beata says, Adrian, did Jeremy Vine talk about the liar and stalker, and was there let's close him down tweet? I can't remember the let's close him down tweet, but I decided before the interview, and it was my choice, that I wasn't going to talk about the convicted stalker, simply because it would be ungallant of me to put Jeremy in that position. Because ostensibly the interview was about his book and the release of his book, and to talk about radio, because we both know about radio. But I just thought that would be kind of trapdoor where, you know, some of the Sky news hounds, they'll get you in, or whomever, and be really, really nice to you, really, really nice to you. And then right at the end of the interview, there's the trapdoor, and they'll give you a tough question. And I just thought no, it wouldn't serve anybody or any purpose. What I did ask him was about Hugh Edwards and that time at the BBC. And I asked him about other things, about his current show. I asked him about, well, lots of things. I asked him about Brexit. I asked him about Hugh Edwards. And he was very generous in his responses. He didn't hold back at all. So I hope you find it interesting. It wouldn't have served anybody by trapping him. So I took the editorial decision not to, because it could have caused problems in many different ways and levels, and I don't want that. Why did Simon D get the sack, said Nuts and Bolts? Do you know, I can't remember. Did he said something, didn't he? A bit like Kenny Everett. Kenny Everett was talking about BBC Director General's wife or something, and it was funny, but it's funny now, but it wasn't back then. Paulie Galtieri, speaking of radio presenters, Pete Price is an utter wrong, and I've heard stories from reliable sources. I work with him, Paulie. I work with Pete. I was at Radio City for about 18 months. I did the Peaceful Hour. I did some mid-mornings, then did afternoons, then did Drive for a while. Loved it working in Liverpool. Because you got to remember, growing up in the northeast of England, all I knew about Liverpool was what I'd seen on the telly, the Liverbirds. So I thought everybody talked like that, and everybody was, and they do. So it was, hang on, Mephistopheles. Speckled dove or turbo doves? You're wrong. Soul Rebel says, sounds about right, Aid. They let her go. At her best, though, she was very good. I agree, and a great voice. I'm talking about Paula White. Great voice. Because for those that work in radio, it's almost the judgment, not that we judge anyone, but the judgment is on the voice. So people's voice, it dictates whether you respect them or not. I mean, you don't want somebody who's got a voice that's like nails down a blackboard. But there's other, I mean, Tommy Vance, there you go, another great radio voice. There are others, Bates, Simon Bates, Fondle My Bollocks. In fact, I was going to do a biography, and I was going to name my biography Simon Bates, Fondle My Bollocks. Mel Scholes, that's a blast from the past. Which radio station, Rich? Must have been hard for Alex to wait, as he may also have ADHD. Nuts and bolts, I agree. There's definitely something going on, and I'm sure the probation service will have assessed him, whether he was right for release. But what he's quoting is danger to the public. Yeah, but he's not talking about the evaluation they've made on him. Is he a danger to himself? What have they decided that he suffers from? So, and at the same time, he must think that we weren't aware of what was going on while he was in prison. So the two self-declared lying bits. He self-confessed to lying in 2 separate libel cases in the High Court. That is a matter of record. And not having someone represent you when all you wanted to have was your day in court. So now you come out and you think you've got he's talking about lawfare. No, you libeled people. So he would have had to have paid Jeremy Vine's costs, his own costs, and any damages that were awarded to Jeremy Vine. DC Janet Percival, he would have had to have paid her costs, his costs, and any damages that were awarded to Janet Percival. Now that's not lawfare. He libeled them, he slandered them. And quite rightly, all you have in this life is your good name. So if he keeps going like that, like with Mr. Justice Saney and his wife, then he's just going to end up in the same place. And that's why I'm saying to you, my hope for him is that he doesn't go down that route and understands with wisdom that maybe he just takes 3 years out. He's got enough money to keep him going for 3 years by a country mile. But he wants the recognition. He wants to be famous. He wants the notoriety. Infamy. Infamy. They've all got it infamy. Every time I see something that he's written on X as it's sent across, I just think, you're telling everybody, infamy, infamy, they've all got it infamy. It is a carry-on script. No. Speaking of radio presenters, oh yeah, we've done that, Paulie, thank you. Turi Wookfit. Let's take some more of these, and then we'll get back into the sermon for the evening. Simon D was Icarus. Yes, but handsome kid, had it all back into the 70s and into back into the 60s, into the 70s. I was a bit too young for Simon D, but he had it all. Lionel Layton, good to see you in the body of the Kirk. Simon D got sacked for playing a band record twice on his BBC show. He went downhill after that, passed away 2009. Sad to hear that, Lionel. Thank you for that. Grandiose self-concept tied to cultural and political identity, entrenched persecutory worldview. It's not going to end well, but I do hope. Can you disclose any credits for your recent video uploads with some great music and graphics? Oh, English Bottle Cap. No, they're original. No. You mean the one that I've pinned to the channel? No, that's an original. No, it's all original. It's AI generated, but and we are thinking of doing more of those, simply because nobody else is doing them. I don't think anybody else knows how to. So this channel is going to become multifaceted. There's going to be the interviews. If we can make it work, phone-ins. There's going to be the lives. There will be dedicated lives, possibly Monday, Tuesday and Thursday for memberships, where I can speak a little more freely. Because there's stuff that I know I can't really say here. But if people are members and they're paying for it, I think YouTube will allow it. So that's what we're going to do. Terry Wookfit, there ain't have been some lucky bastards. No, Terry, it's clever. Ian Dury, the Blockheads, favourite. When she pronounced hair as her. Oh, yes, very good. Exactly that. Narcissistic tendencies. Yes, definitely. Laura, predictive text. Bad Wolf Project. Herbert and Price were good mates. Pete was heartbroken when Herbert died. Yeah. Soul Rebel Simon D was the 7th Beatle after Bestie and Jimmy Tarbuck. Oh, they were great times. Great times. Let's get back on track. We've done Bellefield. I want to talk about. Do you know Gary Glitter is still up the glitter? He's not getting out. 81 years old, lost another bid for freedom, so he's going to have to wait at least another 2 years. But if you want to do some research, and if you think Gary Glitter's a wrong one, do some research on ex-Radio 1 DJ Mark Page. It will make your hair curl. I don't even want to talk about Pagey, because he's Just utter filth. And I think he's doing 18 years now. Yeah, me, Mark Page. But he's not my kind of person. I'll put that gently. What he was up to was just fucking awful. So the Premiership, there's no Boxing Day matches on the Premiership. As I said a little bit earlier, it's family tradition. We would go, and somehow Sunderland would always have Boxing Day games. And I went to a load of them, freezing cold. But it was just, it's a great tradition. Gets everybody out of the house. You're almost a dagger's drawn on Boxing Day. You know why they call it Boxing Day, don't you? Because everybody's clipping everybody else. Christmas Day is lovely, but by the time you've been with people that you haven't spoken to all year, and you get to lunchtime, it's like, oh, are we going to have dinner now? Then can I watch Top of the Pops? And can I go to sleep for the rest of the day? But I don't know. They haven't justified doing away with it. I don't know whether Sandra's still in the body of the Kirk, but no Premiership football on Boxing Day. Don't know about the Championship, don't know about the other leagues. Wow, brilliant. Thank you for that. No! Aidan Wellsmith says there's a Justice for Mark Page website. What? To get more money so he can go and fuck 10-year-olds? Boys and girls? No, he's filth, Page. He's utter filth. I mean, he's an old boy now, so he might not actually get out of jail. But, Jesus H. Aidan Wellsmith says in March 2022, the broadcaster and media personality Mark Page was convicted of crimes he did not commit. Where'd you get that from, Aidan? Because he was found guilty. And then they had a look at his case and realised that he hadn't been sentenced enough. Straight from that website. Oh, Aidan, thank you for that. I'll have a look at it later. Jesus H. No. I mean, I know Mark Page. And he had shares in Radio Tees, my first radio station. And he pitched up one night while I was on air, presenting the show, and just walked in the studio. And I was like, who are you? He said, you know who I am? I said, correct. What are you doing in my studio? Because technically, the man on air has control of the radio station. So the man on air can decide who comes into his studio or not. And I said, get out. And he looked at me and laughed. I said, I'm being serious. Get out. And he was there in all leather, like leather jacket, leather trousers, Mr. But what I saw and heard from his trial, no. He's filth. On the level of Savile and Glitter et al. No, not my kind of person. Hi, Sandra. Sandra says, yo, I'm still here, Rev. Got my season tickets and normally go to my sister's after the game. If at home on Boxing Day, it's traditional. I know, Sandra. You're probably lucky that in the Championship they'll allow that. But what these Johnny-come-latelys, footballers on 100 grand a week can only manage it once a week. Bloody hell, Bonnie Blue can manage it 1,000 times in a day. Maybe they need to take tips from her. See what I did there? I want to talk about PMQs today. Honestly, it's that sort of pugilistic way that politicians don't like to do. It's, oh, my honourable friend, and yes, we'll say this gently. No! Get stuck into the shysters, man. We know what's going on. So, Kemi, not good enough. Wasn't there today. It was the deputies of some kind that stood in. So what, are they kind of away on holiday, the G7? Where's Kemi not good enough? And there's on me head Davy, he didn't turn up either. Some bird, some woman pitched up who I've never seen before. I've seen her in the chamber, but I've not seen her ever before. But Jess Phillips, those dark circles under her eyes. I mean, all of the Labour front bench. Holy Jesus H. Tom Harney's. Well, I've seen that as well. Bonnie Blue, her or him. Well, whatever gets you through the night, as John Lennon once sang. Stuart says, my dad worked with a lad who had stuff to do with kids on his laptop and was jailed for it. My dad was sick to his stomach because he was a close friend of his. It's I agree with you, Stuart. There's a guy that used to do phone-ins called Tom Davies, quite successful, and I went to the same school, same comprehensive as him, and he did TFM's phone-in. He worked on Smooth, did some Century stuff. Was always just around doing stuff, and was quite good at what he did. Then it turns out he's got kiddie stuff on his computer. And his justification to the judge, because it was at Newcastle Crown Court, his justification was, I'm doing research for a documentary I'm making. And the judge says, okay, show me some of the stuff from the documentary that you're making. And he said, I haven't started it yet. So the judge knew. There's Griffiths. Me and you need to talk away from here. He says, I'm not one to mince words, but where Jess Phillips is concerned, I am keeping stum. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. So Tom was at court, was found guilty, was told to go home and put his affairs in order, and then he would be sentenced on the Friday. And they found him dead on the Thursday. He'd gone home and unalived himself. Ray Norton, yeah. Fred Talbot, the weatherman, another wrong un. Oh, there's loads of them in telly, loads of them. What happened to Pete Townsend's book? He didn't publish that again, and nobody's asking him the question. It'd be the first question out of my mouth. Hello, Pete, how you doing, mate? When's your book coming out? What book's that? Well, you know, the Americans found your credit card had been buying kiddie stuff online, and you said it was you'd had a troubled childhood and you were doing a book. Of course. Clement Freud, another BBC wrong-un. Yes, of course. Paulie, you're wrong-un. English bottle cap Jess Phillips has teeth like a witch doctor. Rusty's Roaming says Jess Phillips should be sacked. She's not looking well. I mean, isn't she the minister for looking after young girls and voted against an inquiry? How does that work then? So, let's talk about it. PMQs today. Chris Phillip. Oh, what a shadow boxer he was. Ginger Growler, let me just say, in my view, she took a battering in her political ring today. She was so just aggressive. Because it takes something to remain calm. And I think Starmer kind of has it because he's a barrister. Ginger Growler doesn't because she's not a barrister or a lawyer. She's just come in through the unions. But she took some battering today at PMQs, honestly. So they got straight in. And this Chris Phillips said about the illegal migrants, it's the highest number ever. And Ginger Growler was just kind of pointing, just being facially really aggressive and vocally really aggressive. She was pointing, saying, yeah, well, the last government, 14 years of failure. You didn't do anything to stop them, did you? And everybody's like, well, no, that's the last government. This is the current government. You've had a year. And what have you done? Naff all. And I just looked at her and thought, no class. No class. She was wearing baggy trousers today. I appreciate that it's probably quite warm in the chamber. But no class, no successful policy. She wasn't arguing. She had no argument about what they were doing, how they were doing it. They're just spending billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of our taxes on people who shouldn't be here. And there are common sense politicians kind of offering ideas. But her, Ginger Growler has a bite, according to Stephen Hall. Well, you wanting to sniff a saddle or something? Ray Norton, Neil, you would need help with that growler. Hang on. Well, what's Neil says? I'd batter Ginger's growler. Who said that? Hang on. Oh, yeah, Neil Cunningham. As ever, Neil. Norton Glitter was convicted. Jackson wasn't. No. No. Bare knuckle boxer Danny Christie next week. Mephistopheles. What, you taking them on? Wow. Bit of bare knuckle. That's brutal. Growler nearly ran over Larry the cat yesterday. No, she didn't. Was she driving? Or was she on the back seat? Tom Harney's Libor kept voting against inquiries. I know they did. So they They couldn't do anything. I will say that I laughed my cap off at Starmer today. Have you seen him? He shakes hands with a Korean interpreter, thinking that the Korean interpreter was the South Korean president. I mean, that's almost like saying they all look alike. And this is Sir Keir Starmer, a diplomat, my hairy backside. So he shakes hands with a Korean interpreter, thinking it was the South Korean president. My God. I would just like to ask you, can we have Chris Phillip every week, please? I mean, did he go off script? Because, Kemi not good enough. She just kind of, right, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about this. But this Chris Phillips just got stuck in. What you done about the bloody illegal immigrants? And what you done about the Pakistani rape gangs? I mean, there's Starmer labelling everyone who stood up for the rape victims as far right. And even the political landscape has changed simply because Starmer has no clue. He has no warmth about him, as I was talking about earlier. No warmth, no nothing to that man. And Ginger Growler, was displaying aggression that should never be seen in. It was like the face was contorted with aggression. We in shite, man. We've seen through you all. You're going to be unemployed and unemployable in a couple of years. And again, another question. What was Starmer doing rushing back for a Cobra meeting because seemingly there's going to be some stuff happening between Israel and Iran tonight? No, there's not. But if he could rush back for a Cobra meeting, why wasn't he back for PMQs? I mean, just give him a livener. He can do that. Couldn't make PMQs, though. Why is that, then? Because you know what? Chris Phillips would have said to him, "Oi, wrong'un. What about this inquiry, then?" And if you look at the housing for the migrants, the Labour government is paying for the migrants. They're giving landlords top dollar. They're saying they'll do all repairs, whether it's private properties or not. So that the government might end up buying housing stock, or one of the corporate stakeholders might be buying the housing stock. Oh, let's just have a think. Who would that be that would be one of the landlords? Then it'll be bloody BlackRock. Because remember, BlackRock was in number 10 with Rachel from Accounts and Starmer, the Harmer. Queer Starmer. Obviously queer as folk, Starmer. So I'm going to, we might have a couple of questions, but I'm going to give you the latest voting intention. We always do this on the lives. The latest voting intention is Reform, 30%. Tories, 22%. You know what that means, don't you? Labour Party are in third place. Labour, 21%, and the Lib Dems are not even at the races on 12%. So Reform are out by a country mile. Do you know what else I think is going to happen? The Reform Party will get all these votes, and they will also bring more people out. If it's a day like today that's been like roasting hot on polling day, people will come out because they've had enough of the political classes doing what they've been doing, whether it's Tory or Labour or Lib Dems. They've absolutely had enough. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know why this, English bottle cap, I was going to get onto that, Starmer, the baby harmer. So this late abortion bill, under the radar. So they announced this inquiry. He said at the weekend, we're going to have an inquiry. Everybody stood back going, hang on a second, is he the leader of the Parliamentary Labour Party? They've been telling us since they got into power, no, we're not going to have an inquiry. No, Pakistani rape gangs, no. But do you know what's also coming into clear focus? Starmer, and he keeps telling us, I was the Director of Public Prosecutions. I was at the CPS, and he was also DPP, Director of Public Prosecution, and the CPS when some of these Pakistani rape gangs went across his desk, and it was NFA'd, no further action. So Starmer is right in the shite. but they're gonna scrub this and get it away as quickly as possible. But now this late abortion bill. Aidan Wellsmith says, agreed. The apathy party will lose huge number of voters to reform. Matthew Whedon, Nigel Farage is always touring the country. He knows it's the Donald's playbook. That's all he's doing. He has rallies because he knows that works in America. And engaging your audience, engaging the voting. Obviously not going for the Muslim vote like the Labour Party. But there's 64 million of us in this country. And I watched a video the other day of some Muslims getting right up and getting their panties in a bunch. And all I will say is this. 4 million of them. 64 million of us. And they want to start taking us on? Oh, that's stupidity of the highest level. Just, they don't understand. And what's coming in 3 or 4 years, they have no clue. Because they've never engaged with the Brit or the Englishman. And the Englishman has been fighting for thousands of years. It's in our DNA. We're fighters. Do not threaten our kids or our wives or our land. So an Englishman's home is his castle. Don't. You can be Johnny Big Bollocks as much as you want. That's very kind, Stuart. Thank you. Thank you for your continued support. So Nigel Farage failed to vote in the abortion bill. Did he? I mean, ooh. The thing is, though, there's only 5 of them at the minute. Les Griffiths, we cannot count on the army to back us up. We'll take the army on then. Look, can you not remember the miners' strike? Thatcher was within a whisker of losing that. Because the men who believed in their future and believed in the coal and believed in the coal mining industry, they had to bring the army in and give them police uniforms, but they didn't have the numbers on their epaulets. And the police struggled to control the striking miners. If you imagine that it just, all of a sudden, the blue touch paper's being lit in this country. The police forces, because there's not just one, the police forces police by consent. The army have got families. And if, whether it be monarch, because the monarch should be running this country, and he's not, Charles the Weak, he's given it to Tuti Akia. But it's his government, his prime minister, and his stuff that he reads to the government and gets them to do. But don't upset these people in this country. We had Tyler Watt leading the peasant revolution in 1300 and odd, 1319. It was after the KTs, Knights Templar. But it's almost as if they want us to rise up. They wouldn't be able to handle that. But I'll tell you something. If anything starts to get a bit squeaky bum time, there'll be a blackout. So then nobody can communicate. Or so they think. Rusty Roamings to Andrew James. I totally agree. We're going down the same route as Iran in the late 70s when the Ayatollah, can you remember, Ayatollah Khomeini became the leader of Iran. I mean, how old is he? About 300 or something. And he's the one that's kicking off, oh, don't be doing that. We're just going to bomb the shit out of you. And then they don't. So where did they get the bombs from? America and or Russia. So remember that Biden gave Iran $6 billion in return for some hostages that the Iranians had, American hostages. So where did the $6 billion get spent? All these missiles that are being flung across to Israel. And I've been saying to you for months and years, Bibi Netanyahu is the most evil man on planet Earth. That's above Bill Gates and Fauci and or Tuti Akia, because when the truth comes out about Tuti Akia, the mainstream media will be having a field day. Well, just want to know what was in that tissue. Had somebody been wanking into a tissue on a plane, on the train? Or were they blowing their nose because they'd had too much shit up it? Well, you know, they could have been in an industrial area, and you know what it's like in London when you live there for any stretch, and I do. You inside of your nostrils are all black. Police Scotland is the second largest police force in the United Kingdom. Correct. English bottle cap. They went from, it was about 8 or 9 forces into one. And the chief constable at the time, who got found... Oh, can I say this? So a random chief constable from a random police force somewhere in the world that I can't identify or name for any reason whatsoever, had his male partner in a flat in the city that he was working in, and his wife and 2 kids, or wife and kids, living at home. Truth. But what you don't do is you don't kind of try and get your... because the role of the police officer is to gather evidence. So if you're doing this and think you can get away with anything, well, your cops are going to find out about it, as they did, as did the media. And then so this random chief constable from somewhere, some police force somewhere, anywhere in the world, left. So I'm then living in a particular part of the United Kingdom, and I'm there just watching the news, seeing what's going on, and bugger me, pun intended, he appears on the telly again, like in a leader role in another police force. And I was like, oh, Jesus. So let's get to this late abortion bill. It appeared under the radar, but are they going to use this as contraception? The fact that the day before it goes full term, you can abort this baby. Now, I don't know your feelings on this, and it's a very emotive subject, but they are decriminalizing terminating pregnancies beyond 24 weeks. And it was unanimous in the House. 379 votes to 137. I mean... But I've said to you, politicians are so corrupt, they don't care whether you live or die. Look at what happened in March 2020. They were telling us, take the jibber jabber, because it'll protect you. And those that don't take the jibber jabber will be killing the people that have taken the jibber jabber. And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, everybody's working out that actually the jibber jabber has been killing people and making so many people ill that the big pharma are making a shit ton of money out of them. We're just cash cows. They don't care. So if you are... so, for example, you're having a pregnancy and you find out that the child has a condition that you don't want that child to have, you can terminate that pregnancy at any point you wish. And do you know, now if you're squeamish, off you go. Please don't stay watching any longer, because we have to have adult conversations here and we have to do it in an adult way. But if you don't know how they terminate pregnancies, then maybe this continued conversation is not for you. So, Amalia says, sadly, Adrian, the majority of people are not working this out. They're still queuing for their boosters. I know, Amalia. I know. I've got people around me, but you can't... We'll park the late abortion bill in for a moment. It's very challenging to have this conversation with people, because those that have taken the jab, and I say many times when I'm doing these lives, we don't judge here, and I'm not judging you if you have. You were trying to do the right thing at the time. And some people have like 4 or 5 jabs, 4 or 5 boosters, and are still happy to take it. Well, they're an accident waiting to happen. So whether it's myocarditis or pericarditis or internal organ problems, Ray, that's a really profound statement. Too many people still trust the mainstream media. I get it. I do get it. And I'm not suggesting that I'm, the Lord of all knowledge, and I'm not suggesting that I know the smartest man in the room by any stretch of the imagination. But did your instinct not tell you that there was something wrong about this? And then all of a sudden, Keir Starmer's having a curry with his pals, and Cockite, leader of the Tory party, he was having beers. I thought he was a fucking Muslim. They don't drink alcohol. So what's he doing? You've got the leaders giving us one thing, telling us one thing, because there's money there. Governments were buying so many copies of the jab that they were spending billions and billions and billions on it. But whilst we weren't watching, while we were locked down in our homes, they were handing out PPE contracts worth hundreds of millions of pounds, and they didn't deliver. Or they did deliver, but they were shit. So Rich Boy Sunak was having his stuff in number 10. They were having meetings, but they were telling us, like our elderly in the old folks' homes, we couldn't go and see them. We had to have a bubble with a family. And then the way that we could work was becoming more and more complex. And I just thought, no. I mean, I was very lucky that I didn't have to take it. I contracted COVID, if that's what it was called. But then the Wuhan lab has been proven to be the origin of it all, and then there was some versions of Charlie 19 came out and went to America, and then it started going around the world. And we were watching this reportage, and none of the journalists, please, you also have to understand this, none of the journalists working in any of the news organisations or the news media or the MSN actually did any journalism. They just took what the fatuous government was saying and just repeated it. So they were bought off with advertising. The journalists kept their jobs, but they didn't do their fucking jobs at all. They didn't tell you the truth. And even some YouTubers who were anti-vax, took the vaccine, took the jibber jabber so that they could travel. Integrity? My hairy backside. Aidan, I completely agree with you. Journalism is just regurgitating press releases. Paul Morton, some families still not talking to me as I said nope. And again, it's a bit like the miners' strike. There are still massive schisms in families where, my family, we stood shoulder to shoulder with the striking miners. We did some, I did some gentlemen's evenings to raise money for the striking miners. We raised a shit ton of money for gentlemen's evenings. You get some strippers in, you get some beers in, and this is what in one of the nightclubs I was working at. There must have been 1,000 of us, so we raised thousands and thousands. But it was for the striking miners. So those lads that had jobs were happy to dole out 20 or 30 or 50 quid to the striking miners because their families were suffering. And my dad, bless him, he was a grade A cunt. Well, caring, understanding 90s type, without any hesitation of being contradicted. He was with the Liverpool Dockers. He was striking with the Liverpool Dockers, shoulder to shoulder. So I get that people who, and I think there's an element of guilt that they took it and now they're seeing all this. It'll be scaring them. And it's not for us to either laugh at them or judge them. It's for us to support them. But families like the striking miners, still to this day, the one half of the family won't have anything to do with the other half. Some of the scabs that went back to work, oi, 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 oi. Some of the scabs that went back to work literally 3 days before the miners' strike finished. Oh, still, that family, yeah, it was a scab. It's a stain on the family. And where I lived in Sunderland, we were sort of equal distance between 3 or 4 different mines. They were everywhere. One was Bolden Colliery, one was Wearside Colliery, or Wearmouth, but they went out for miles out under the sea and still can. But this net zero arsehole that's just, oh, we have to spend billions, we've got to be net zero. Here, mate, get your ukulele and shove it up your arse. We're not interested, because there are people in this country who are paying their taxes and doing what you are asking them to do to their detriment. And you're giving all this money that you're spunking on net zero and illegal immigrants. No wonder his bloody brother left the country. Myrna in some of our foods now, and perhaps in the chemtrails. Frog icon on coffee, etc. Avoid like plague. All Myrna, apparently. Is that true, Amalia? I think that might be Nicholas. David Brask says, I was talking to a couple today who have booked their... No! Who have booked their eighth booster. David, why are they doing that? I mean, do they have 2 IQ points between them? What are they... All this evidence. Even some of my extended family who have taken 3 or 4 jabs and boosters are now not. They've seen the light and now are not. I just hope that those original jabs and boosters haven't damaged them internally in some way. Just... On Wiki, it says Yeadon is a British anti-jibber-jabber activist. I don't think he is either. Terry's asking Amalia, thought the frog was for the Rainforest Alliance. They could be telling us anything. It's like that, is it Appeal? That's Bill Gates's stuff, the wax that he puts on our food. I absolutely categorically will not buy anything with Appeal on it. Absolutely nothing. Right. So just to give you more information, we'll park that for the moment, because I think the jibber jabber is always going to be around, and it's. I mean, I've had friends die from it after the first one. There's friends now saying that have had the jabs that they feel they've got long COVID. Everybody was trying to do what they thought was best, but what we thought, my family, we thought we'd do our research and have anybody tell me. It's like, this is what I wanted to make this point about the late abortion bill and why it was sort of under the radar. Now, I'm immediately suspicious of what these feckers are up to, what these clowns are up to. So this vote, 379 votes to 137, that's not even 650. So some of them have abstained, or some of them couldn't be asked to go for the vote. But 379 to 137, what were they told that we weren't? Now, in the past 3 years, 6 women have appeared in court trying to end a pregnancy illegal. That's beyond 24 weeks. So I'm going to give you graphic information. And I'll use sort of medical grade instrumentation, but in essence, they just hoover the ban out. Now, there's no other way of sugarcoating this. They hoover the bands out, and they come out as body parts. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's a legitimate question. Who makes the money from the baby parts? Who? Now, sadly, I trust the medical professionals as far as I can spit them, because the stuff that they do, I mean, look, they have to do their education to become a doctor and to become this and that and the other. But I'm going to ask, because there's been many stories that I could reference where children and their body parts have disappeared in hospitals. So who makes the money from the baby parts? It's not, it's a sort of a rhetorical question, but it's if you have people that, Les Griffiths makes a very excellent point. Contraception is readily and cheaply available. There is no need for unwanted pregnancy. Failing that, keep your knees together. Correct. But I will say this. When abortion was made legal, and there are still places like Ireland where all kinds of horrible, horrible, horrible things have happened with women that unfortunately got pregnant, had unwanted pregnancies. I mean, some women, backstreet abortions, knitting needles, dragging the bairn out. So now we're talking, and I can tell by the people that are switching off that this is a really tough subject. I get that. And I'm not sensationalizing this, but I'm not sugarcoating it either. We have to have this adult conversation. And we weren't, so this late abortion bill suddenly just appears and is voted through, and that stinks to me. It's corrupt to me, in my view. But I am asking the question for a reason, because I know the answer. I'm just not going to give it to you. Who makes the money from the baby parts? Why have babies gone missing? Why have babies' organs gone missing? There have been major hospital scandals where babies' organs have gone missing. Why would they go missing? I'm being facetious because I know that answer as well. But if I started giving you those answers, I'd be closed down by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Because if you think politics is corrupt, start looking at medicines. And those people involved, the medical practitioners. I know why Lucy Letby's case is unjust, but I can't tell you. That's why I need to bring memberships, because I would tell you in a heartbeat. But this, somebody, somewhere, will be making money from aborted children. I'm telling you. Don't believe that I'm just making this up. I'm not, because it has happened for decades. Rusty's roamings. Lucy is a scapegoat. I know, Rusty. I wonder who she's a scapegoat for. It's interesting that the Royal College of Surgeons have not given their take on this by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, Alderhay or Orchidia. The founder of Bum Fights videos bought baby parts. Oi, 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 Andrew. So this is we're having, and I'm very happy to do this, we're having very adult conversations around stuff that the mainstream media absolutely refuses to get entangled with. But we have to have these conversations. They think we're stupid. They think we can't handle the emotional responses that we would have around this. And they're supposed to be the greatest minds, the 650 greatest minds in this country. Here, how do we end shite, mate? I've shit stuff that's brainier than you, said a spokesperson. Terry Wookford, inept systematic failure in natal care, particularly in premature babies. Correct. We were long forewarned about the medical industry. I know, Les. Snake oil sellers, they do it in the House of Parliament, or I was going to call it the Palace of Westminster. Beata says, imagine working in an abortion clinic doing this day in, day out. How could they? Shame on them, and shame. Sandra says, I know a friend's wife who died 2 weeks before due date and still had to give birth to the dead baby. Oy, oy, oy. I know. We're human beings, and I know that things can go wrong, but it's all credit. I do, without going into details, of course. But You know, babies can be stillborn. There are things that can go wrong with pregnancies. But just to abort a pregnancy. Now, if there is a medical reason to it, I'm not going to argue with that at all. But if it's a contraception reason, why the mother is thinking, I can't really handle that, no. Keep your knees together. And if you don't want to get pregnant, there's always lube in the back door. I'm being facetious, of course. But 2025. And they talk about the empowerment of women. Is this empowering women? Like, the way that I see it, and please don't think that I'm being misogynistic in any way, shape or form, but we men are dumb creatures. Women have the power. Women give birth. They have the power. We men are just, we might be there at the conception, but we're not needed after that. Aidan says, what about the GG pregnancies? Well, sorry, Aidan, what are those? I'm getting tired now, so I'm not thinking as quickly as... the problem with society is everyone knows their rights, but not their responsibilities. That's a great quote. That is a great point to make. People don't take responsibility for themselves or others, do they? But that's why I want this community, that I love presenting these lives to you and this community. Empowerment, a little more than a buzz term at this point. Agreed? Or Orchidia? Agreed? But that's what's being forced down our throat by various factions. Our grooming gang. Oh, of course, Aidan. Rape gangs. Let's call them what they are. They're rape gangs. They're not grooming gangs. They may groom them initially, but it ends up with either sexual abuse or rape. And the other thing that I wanted to ask, and I am going on quite a while this evening, is they were talking about the girls being plied with drink and cigarettes and heroin. Horse, however you want to describe it, brown. These girls were injected with heroin. And do you know which country is one of the main producers of that filthy drug? Pakistan. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course, Aidan, of course. But you see, I can say it. Oh, right, I realise. Yeah, use GG. We got it now. It's part of the lexicon of language that we have. But I can say it. You can't write it. That's, again, we're being adult about this. This is not, we're not belittling anything. We're not being facetious around anything. I can, because I'm the agent provocateur. But this is an opportunity for every conversation to be held in an adult way, with freedom. That's what I'm saying to you. Some people who like to think that they're phone-in hosts, are they shite? Their ego might say they are, but they're not. Adrian, here's a question for you. What is the most expensive commodity in the world? Most expensive commodity? Children, surely. Human life. Yeah, Pop-Eyed Wazza. Good to see you in the body of the Kirk, Pop-Eyed Wazza. It is... Now, I don't know about you when you were watching. Human life is dirt cheap in some countries. I know. I was having a conversation with somebody. I was trying to be funny and humorous. But I was going to call my media company Jam Boy Media. Have you heard of this term? So in some of the Asian continent where it's very, very warm, there's just a shit ton of flies. So what they do, English Bottle Cap says, yeah, human life should not be a commodity. They have something called a Jam Boy. And they bring the Jam Boy to your table, or near to, and literally cover them with jam. And the flies just go straight for the jam. So the Jam Boy, real thing, Google it, they sit there and take all the flies and all the shite so that the people, the rich Westerners, can have their meal fly free. The Jam Boy's sole purpose was to keep the mosquitoes away from the golfer. To do this, the Jam Boy would cover himself in jam to attract the mosquitoes, away from the players. Same in the restaurants, Aidan. When the game was over, the jam boy got to keep the jam he was wearing to take home to his family. Oy, 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 oy. On the mosquitoes. Oh, Mum, this jam I put on my toast a bit crunchy. Thank you, Les. What do you want me to see, Les? Aidan Wellsmith. The jam boy was first introduced as early as the 1800s when the British Empire occupied India. When the British gentry went to play golf, they would have two men, the caddy and a jam boy. Oh, fucking hell, Les. I forgot about that. Well, Hillary Clinton, adrenochrome, 1 billion a litre. Oh, no wonder it's the... I mean, the Diddy trial, I'm hoping will out some of the adrenochrome users. Because, and again, there's people online, on social media, who go, here's somebody 20 years ago, and here's somebody 30 years ago, or 40 years ago in their youth, and all of a sudden they're looking younger 40 years later, and they're blaming adrenochrome. Wow, 1 billion a litre. And do you know how they get adrenochrome? They traumatise the kids before death, and it adrenalizes the blood, and then they extract the blood. It's called adrenochrome. So let's have a look. I think we'll call it a night there. Should we... when am I going to do my next live? It's Sunday tonight. Because I want to do the rape gangs. It'll take quite a while to have that conversation with you. Because one of the points that I want to make to you is this. 4,000 girls were cautioned for prostitution when the police were getting involved. So let's have... Brilliant, Stuart. Thank you for that. I might have a look at that. I think what I'll do, rather than just sweep over it, I want to get really into the weeds of the Pakistani rape gangs. But as I said earlier, where did the brown H stuff, horse, however you want to term it, come from? And all of that detail, 4,000 girls were cautioned for prostitution, actually came from the Casey report that dropped on Monday. And have you noticed how nobody has done any reporting on the Casey report? They've not laid out the details. Of course they haven't. And do you think this inquiry that the Labour Party have decided they're going to hold, that's the results of that are never good? Look at the post office. Look at the post office. They're saying, oh, well, we might get some results maybe 2026 or 2027. That's from the post office that was started by the Tories. And you've got these clowns saying, yeah, we're going to hold an inquiry. It could take 6 years. They'll be out of office by then, and nobody will care. They'll just go, it was the Labour government. They're not in power. Nobody cares. So 4,000 girls were cautioned for prostitution who were actually raped by the child rape gangs. Because what they are is rape gangs. And some of these people that are turning around saying, oh, there's more white people raping girls than men of Pakistani origin. They're looking at the individual towns and cities. They're not looking at nationwide. That may be so nationwide, but actually, I wanted to talk about disability benefits and driving test backlogs. Just to give you some data, 631,472 learners are waiting for tests. The average wait is 20 weeks to get a driving test. 20 weeks. So I wanted to talk about that and many other things, but we've been going 2.5 hours so far. Yeah, Sandra Whittam, check bounced. Or it's in the post, one of the two. Thank you for I mean, I just love doing these lives for you, because there are conversations we can have here that nobody else can have, because they don't have the intellectual rigor or the mental agility to deal with this compassionately. Amalia, I'm going to do another live, possibly tomorrow night or Tuesday night, but whichever, I will talk about disability benefits, and I want you to bring your stories when I do that live, because this is really, really important. This is about people's lives being, and I'll weigh this up before I bring this to a close. You have genuine disabled people who are not being supported and not being looked after. Their disability is no fault of their own. So as a caring, compassionate society, we should be helping people, not the fucking illegal immigrants that are coming in and siphoning billions of pounds off into corporations who are making shit tons of money, whether it's BlackRock or not, all these landlords. And the government's saying, if you put them in there, private housing, we'll do all the repairs for 2 or 3 years. And yet they're looking at disability benefits and cutting them. This is the same government that is spunking £100 billion to Ukraine over the next, £300 billion over the next 100 years to Ukraine. Thank you, Jackie. Sleep well. I don't know whether they're front loading all of the shit, so they're trying to get rid of everything so that in maybe 18 months they can start campaigning for the next general election and say, oh, look what we did, look what we did. The Tories are bad, the Tories are evil, we got rid of them, and then we've done this and we've done this and we've done this. That could be their game plan. So this abortion bill and this inquiry for the rape gangs and taking disability benefits away from those who need it. Look, I understand there's a bunch of slackers that live in our community, in our society. But for the people that really need it, well, I think this is another conversation for another evening. So thank you so far for your likes. Smash the likes on your way out, you Romans. We should be able to get to 200 likes. But if you didn't like it, well, tough audience. But thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. Don't forget the Battenberg. Be well, stay safe, and just remember, this is not a show. This is a mission. I'll see you in the next live. Just keep an eye open for, I'll either do it tomorrow or Tuesday. Keep an eye open for it, and we'll talk again soon.